This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. A busy election day turned into a chaotic election night. Long lines at polling locations in Williamson County triggered a last-minute legal fight to extend voting hours at 2 locations. Then the Texas Supreme Court told the county to set aside those late ballots and not count them for now. The change to precinct-specific polls on Election Day was triggered by the Williamson County GOP. County leaders decided to run the primary on Election Day rather than letting the county facilitate, and wanted precinct-based voting because they say it increases election security. We spoke with Tara Spoon, who waited in line for 4 hours to vote in Hutto. She says there was a lot of confusion and a lot of people showed up to the same spot.
I don't want to speculate because I like to see the good in everyone, but I do know that it did impede the process of voting. A lot of people left because of it, and going forward, this doesn't need to happen again.
The county elections office attorney says that he plans to meet with both parties to suggest changes for the runoffs in May, but it's solely up to parties to decide what to do.
What we can do is make suggestions to them, but ultimately the decision as to polling locations, the types of methods of voting and counting, election judges and clerks are all solely within the purview of the political parties for the primary election and for the runoff election.
Williamson County officials say countywide polling will be available for the November election. Austin police officers who took down a mass shooter on 6th Street early Sunday morning will not face criminal charges. The gunman opened fire outside a West 6th Street bar, killing 3 people and injuring 13 others. Moments after the shooting began, Austin police officers killed the shooter, which Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza says undoubtedly saved lives. Today, he called the officers heroes and told Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis that his office formally concluded its review of the shooting. Typically, if Austin police shoot someone, the DA's office reviews the case. There was a large turnout of about 200 students who took the time to grieve with each other. Emotions were high, especially as the organizers took the time to speak about how such young lives were taken. They held a moment of silence for the 3 victims who are no longer with us, and to think about the other 11 people who were also impacted by Sunday's deadly shooting in downtown Austin. One of them was a UT student named Savitha Shan. These students echoed her name as they came to terms that one of their own Longhorns is no longer with us.
It's really sad because she's very close in age to us too. It really opens your eyes as well. It could be any one of us. I think a lot of people are realizing that.
Students planned a second vigil for Wednesday evening. People who get their water from the city of Pflugerville are under new water restrictions in part because of a water line break. City officials say a water line broke near Lake Pflugerville, which has caused water levels in the lake to drop. In the meantime, customers are asked to water 1 day per week on their assigned watering day. That depends on your street address, and all outdoor watering should happen after 7 p.m. or before 8 a.m. We now know that a human played a role in an anonymous vehicle illegally passing a school bus in Austin. The National Transportation Safety Board opened an investigation into a Waymo passing an Austin ISD bus on the morning of January 12th. The Waymo SV, or Automated Driving Systems vehicle on this graphic. A bus was stopping to pick up students on Old Torf near I-35 in South Austin. The NTSB investigation says the Waymo initially stopped for the school bus, but then 3 other cars passed the bus illegally. The Waymo vehicle then contacted remote assistance and asked, "Is this a school bus with active signals?" A person who was working as a remote assistance agent in another state answered no. Then the Waymo passed the bus while the stop arms were still extended. The NTSB is still investigating what happened and other similar incidents. They plan to issue safety recommendations at a later date. Next month, hardback and clearly used books will be banned from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice facilities. The new policy aims to curb illegal narcotics entering the prison system, but local groups argue it will limit reading options. Reporter Brianna Perez explains.
I like to wake up early in the morning, and the first thing I do is read. I read my Bible, and I read some self-help books.
Everett McAdams says reading is part of his daily routine while in custody. But next month, his routine may look different.
This was a book that was found to be concealing contraband. discovered by our mailroom staff.
To keep illegal narcotics from entering facilities, Tim Fitzpatrick with the TDCJ says staff will no longer accept hardback or clearly used books.
We see many times where the spines are filled with physical contraband, Suboxone strips, cocaine, methamphetamine, PCP, placed inside the spine and then resealed.
Fitzpatrick says its goal is to prevent things like overdoses. Through dog searches and mail scans, officials say this is one more step to keep inmates and staff safe.
One person passing from a drug overdose is too many, and that's why we have taken this aggressive stance to find every method that we can to make our facilities safer.
But some local groups say it will have a ripple effect.
A lot of people want educational books, legal books. A lot of these books are hardcover, like especially trade books and textbooks. And so because of this decision, we won't be able to send people those resources that they need.
The Inside Books Project sends thousands of texts to Texas prisoners monthly, and most of what they send are donated or hardbacks.
It's going to affect us as it's going to put a credible economic hardship on our work. We're going to have to buy a lot more books.
Officials say this could put Inside Books out of business, and other groups may halt donations, leaving Texas inmates with fewer options. Starting April 1st, the Windham School District will partner with the TDCJ to manage all agency libraries and handle donations. In Austin, Brianna Perez, KVUE News.
And those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.
I'm Chris Lawrence with your top stories in North Texas. We'll get to the election in a moment, but first, the Fort Worth PD is investigating a deadly crash that happened during a police chase. The victim's family just told Adriana de Alba they need to know more about what happened.
And he was a family guy.
This is Kendrick Gibson, 28 years old, a dad of 6.
He loved his kids.
His cousin says last night he left his grandmother's Fort Worth home. Not long after, the family was called to this scene, a police chase that turned deadly.
I'm really lost for words because I'm really upset.
This is his grandma, Debbie Gibson, after learning her grandson died.
I didn't feel like they were very forthcoming with what actually transpired.
Fort Worth police say they pulled Gibson over, believing his vehicle was involved in an aggravated kidnapping. He drove off north on I-35, and a pursuit began.
The suspect vehicle took the Far Street exit from I-35, lost control, crashed into a concrete pillar.
Gibson died. He was the only person in the car. Juanita Moreno, the mom of his kids, says she was on the phone with Gibson as it all unfolded.
Like if something, like a loud, like a bang.
We reached out to police for more answers today, but police only telling us the investigation is still underway.
We're demanding full transparency.
On the same night, another chase turned deadly when police say a hit-and-run driver lost control and hit a tree. This one off Camp Bowie Boulevard. For Gibson's family, their loss is overwhelming.
He was loved, and this is not going to be something that we're going to be quiet about.
In Fort Worth, I'm Adriana de Alba.
All right, well, part of the reason it took so long to know who won the Senate Democratic primary in Texas was because of all the problems in Dallas County. All day, voters were showing up to the wrong polling places, and then a back-and-forth court battle made it even more confusing. Tiffany Liu explains what went wrong.
In Dallas County,
I'm being sent to a whole other location 5 miles further away.
Voting was a headache for many.
It's just a lot of confusion.
New rules for Tuesday's primaries were unclear to voters on both sides.
It's different this year.
The local Republican Party declined county-wide vote centers. As a result, all voters could only cast a ballot at their assigned polling location.
No election is flawless, but few elections are as messed up as this one.
Cal Jilson, a political science professor at SMU, watched the chaos unfold.
Republicans decided to go off in a different direction, and it threw the whole thing off. Democrats have to ask themselves why there seem to be so many Democrat voters that didn't know where to go.
County and party officials say they warned voters ahead of Election Day. But on Tuesday at 7 a.m. when polls opened, the confusion began.
You are precinct 1125, so we need to get you to the right place.
Just after 6 p.m., the news broke. A Dallas County judge granted a request from the Democratic Party for polling places to remain open until 9 p.m., citing mass confusion. But even then,
I did not get to vote today.
some could not cast their ballots.
Disappointment, upset.
Just before 9 p.m., the Texas Supreme Court intervened, saying ballots cast by those not in line before 7 p.m. should be segregated.
I don't think it affected the outcome of elections because there was some pretty good separation between the candidates.
Looking toward general elections, they are not run by political parties like the Texas primaries. So issues Tuesday likely won't happen this November. In Dallas, I'm Tiffany Liu.
There were a lot of shakeups, and here in North Texas, we're tracking the fallout from a shocking upset in Arlington. State Representative Chris Turner just lost House District 101 after nearly 13 years. Brittany Costello just caught up with Turner to get an idea of what's next as the district prepares for new representation.
In Grand Prairie,
we can be in a position and just kind of do more of the same.
Change is coming.
I feel the younger ones can have more ideas.
Exactly what Marcia Woke says she voted for. Junior Izanu.
I think if the Democratic Party wants to be competitive in 2026 and onward, we need that new generation of leaders.
In Tuesday's primary election, Izanu beat longtime incumbent Chris Turner as the Democrat serving House District 101 that covers southeast Tarrant County. Political analyst Bud Kennedy says it was a surprising loss for the 8-term representative.
I think he was just caught up by the tremendous turnout and the young vote and the progressive vote that saw him as an old business Democrat.
Perhaps the most disappointed is Representative Chris Turner.
We came out on the wrong end of the close race.
Izanu is not surprised. He says he's lived in the district his entire life. The Grand Prairie Mayor Pro Tem says he ran for change within the Democratic Party at just 26 years old. He says he's hoping to expand the party's reach.
We knocked over 13,000 doors, raised enough money to be competitive. We were outspent 10-1, but we knew what was necessary to be able to put up a formidable fight.
Representative Turner called to congratulate him Wednesday morning.
We used to live in this neighborhood. So.
Now he's reflecting on more than a decade's worth of work. The legislation he's helped pass and the improvements like new lighting at Fish Creek Park.
And help people be able to use the trail.
That will shine long after he's gone.
I'm very, very proud of the work we've been able to do and very grateful to the voters for giving me the opportunity to represent them for so long.
In Tarrant County, I'm Brittany Costello.
We're learning new details about the arrest made outside Ken Paxton's watch party here in Dallas. Sources say a masked man entered the hotel last night in Uptown. Police followed him out and initiated a traffic stop after noticing his car didn't have a license plate. Officers found ammunition inside the car and arrested him for not having a tag and failing to identify himself. We've learned that man works for a delivery service and was at the hotel delivering mayonnaise to a customer. The Texas Education Agency announced it will move on from Fort Worth ISD Superintendent Karen Molinar. It's a big move as a part of the takeover of the district, and she tells Scoop Jefferson in an exclusive interview about her biggest success and possibly her next move.
The superintendent here at Fort Worth ISD had hoped to keep her job throughout the state takeover. She just sat down with me to talk about what it feels like to lose her job after almost 3 decades here at the district.
Can you read to me?
The work Superintendent Dr. Karen Molinar has put in at Fort Worth ISD.
Blessed to be able to have as many different roles in this district.
Goes far beyond the desk she now occupies, a job she just learned is coming to an end.
The commissioner called me late last week, shared with me that he was going to go with a different superintendent.
After the call, Molinar turned to the person supporting her most.
Spoke with my husband, which he's always been very supportive.
Last October, the Texas Education Agency took over Fort Worth ISD after years of low academic performance at several campuses, triggering intervention under state law. The takeover comes with eventually naming a new board of managers to run the district. Her last day?
Once the board of managers was in place.
Looking back, Molinar says her career defined by service and gratitude.
Not just the superintendency, just a principal, assistant principal and director, and just really blessed.
Teachers, parents, and even students got to know Molinar, who stayed busy year-round visiting schools and attending district events. Her biggest achievements, she says, the academic successes during the state takeover.
We're seeing those scores, double-digit gains middle of the year.
Now, after almost 3 decades,
Try something new, serve in a different district maybe.
in Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Happy Thursday to everybody. KVUE Chief Meteorologist Hunter Williams here with a look at our statewide forecast. It's more of an active pattern now as we go through the back half of this work week into this weekend and probably even continuing into next week. So we do have storm chances, but I just want to show you the temperature trend over the next 3 days. It's not all too cool. While we do have some fronts coming through, none of them are like Arctic cold fronts. Dallas, for example, 80s still through Friday, then the numbers do start to drop as you go to Saturday. Austin still going to be in the 80s through Saturday. Then we'll get a little bit of drop on Sunday. For Houston, temperatures do drop into the upper 70s for highs by the time we get into Saturday. Let's talk about the storm potential, though. As we go through the rest of the day on Thursday, there is a conditional risk for severe weather, mainly over the Texas Panhandle. Things are looking quieter, though, compared to the past couple of days. That starts to change again as we go into Friday. I know much of the DFW area, it's been active the past couple of days. Another round of storms firing from northern portions of central Texas up the I-35 corridor into the DFW Metroplex. So here's 8 p.m. on Friday, and that's going to be a risk for severe storms, for flooding, hail, strong winds, low-end tornado risk as well. Higher severe threat, though, does look like it will develop across the Red River. Then as we go into Saturday, a front's going to be working through. So here comes another round of widespread showers and storms. So again, you get the idea with how active this pattern could be. And as the front moves southward and southeastward, it blossoms into a big complex of rain and storms. This is 2 p.m. on Saturday. It's the last frame of our model data. But this big batch of rain and storms for the afternoon and evening of Saturday is going to be moving down into central Texas. So we'll pick things up on the longer range data from the European model. You can see that line of showers and thunderstorms developing. And then even behind that, there's going to be additional rain and storms over basically the southern half of our state as we go into Sunday. So this is noon Sunday. We keep going into Sunday night, things getting a little less active. But I do think another round of storms is going to be possible heading into early to even middle of next week. As far as severe weather for Thursday, again, it's more of a conditional severe weather risk, but there's a level 2 slight risk for Lubbock and Amarillo and parts of the Texas Panhandle. Friday and Friday night, though, I think will be more active for a bigger part of our state where storms are more likely. Going from Austin, parts of central Texas, up I-35, and again, the Dallas area is looking pretty active as we get into Friday and Friday night, and then Saturday could also have a risk for some strong storms. It's beyond our 3-day severe weather outlooks, though. As far as rain over the next 7 days, so we have our system coming in this weekend, but just to show you the totals through Tuesday and Wednesday, there's going to be some pockets of several inches of rain, and in addition to the severe weather threat, there's probably going to be some concern for flooding, especially over the eastern third of the state. Over the next 3 days, here's a look at our forecast for West Texas. Again, there is kind of a conditional severe weather risk, but storm chances a little bit lower, some breezy, warm weather. For North Texas, it's going to be an active weather pattern, especially for Friday into Saturday for the DFW area and for places like Denton. For Austin, Waco, Fredericksburg, Thursday a little bit quieter, but as we go into Friday and especially Saturday, storms are looking likely. For parts of East and Southeast Texas, for Houston, the forecast definitely getting more active starting Friday, then Saturday into Sunday, storm chances will ramp up. For South Texas, places like San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Laredo, especially for San Antonio, Friday into Saturday, storm chances ramp up. And for the Valley, we're looking at some really warm weather, especially for Thursday, high temperatures in the 80s to low 90s. We'll keep you updated right here on Plus.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Here's a look at today's headlines from across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. Stuck in the Middle East and struggling to get home. We're talking about thousands of Americans trapped because of the war with Iran, including a man from Houston. Tracy Bragg talks to his wife, who is desperate for her husband to get home safely.
As tensions escalate following U.S. and Israeli airstrikes in Iran, thousands of Americans are caught in the crossfire.
It just doesn't feel real.
Including Sean Starkey of Fulshire, his wife Jennifer telling me he is in Qatar for his first international work trip, and over the last few days the situation has deteriorated quickly as Iran has launched retaliatory strikes towards the U.S. military base in Qatar.
When it first happened, he was in a building that shook. He was that close. So, and then there was another interception at that point, and then they evacuated the area. Since then, he's been hearing stuff nonstop. The interceptions of the drones and missiles.
The U.S. State Department has issued an alert to Americans in 14 countries, including Qatar, to depart now. But Jennifer says with Qatar's airspace closed and their government ordering their citizens to shelter in place, departing the country is simply impossible.
They're just sitting ducks. There's nothing they can do. We need someone to come in and get them. They are trapped without a bunker in Roslavan. They have no way to get out.
Jennifer adds her husband and his co-workers have received no help or information from American officials, leaving this family, at least for now, on opposite sides of the world.
He was supposed to be home this week. The kids are ready for him to be home. We're at a point now where we don't really know what to say to them.
Certainly hoping for a safe return. That's Tracy Bragg reporting. Voters in Harris County's Congressional District 18 have been through a lot the past couple of years, from redistricting to delays in filling the seat following the passing of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and then Congressman Sylvester Turner. Now, following Tuesday's primary, the top two Democratic candidates are headed to a runoff, which means voters will head back to the polls once again. Katira Winfrey explains why experts say this race is one to watch.
Congressional district voters have shown up time and time again. The latest election brought the two Democratic frontrunners, Congressman Christian Menifee and Congressman Al Green, to a runoff in the newly redrawn historic district.
This is what the governor and the president of the United States of America, they jointly have drawn these lines so that there would be the confusion that we have.
Because Donald Trump and Greg Abbott conspired to redraw the districts in Texas to strip Black and brown folks of their representation.
Political expert Brandon Rottinghouse says Democratic voter turnout increased 200%. Republican voter turnout increased 100%. The delay in filling the District 18 seat for nearly a year and controversy around redrawn lines likely helped drum up more civic participation.
This is a blockbuster race. You've got an incumbent who is well known and well liked. You've got an up and coming member who obviously has been running for a long time.
The top two Democratic candidates now facing off. Menifee had this to say during his election night watch party.
And Congressman, you can talk all your trash about me. You can make as many negative ads as you want. I'm going to keep being focused on integrity.
Green was in D.C. on Election Day and missed his watch party, but had this to say Wednesday in response.
Well, here's some more trash. You didn't come to the classified briefing yesterday. We are elected to do these things. I was here. I could have been in Houston. I knew the cameras would be there.
Katira Winfrey reporting. The runoff set for May 26th. Hard to believe, but we're now just 3 months away from the World Cup. We've been talking about it for years. Here in Houston, Centerpoint, making sure the city will be powered. Crews have been inspecting equipment, hardening the grid, and coordinating with emergency partners to handle the expected surge of visitors for 7 matches at NRG Stadium. All of those events across the city.
We've performed the additional hardening and inspections on those areas that will be a part of the World Cup activities. And that's a wide range of things. The airport systems, the alternative training sites, the Shell Stadium here at NRG, the hotels that will be a part of the venues.
Can't lose power during the World Cup. CenterPoint says it will continue inspections, system upgrades, and coordination with city and county leaders in the weeks ahead. Houston marking a pivotal moment in its civil rights history on Wednesday. 66 years ago, students from Texas Southern University staged a sit-in to protest segregated public facilities, a courageous act that helped integrate the city. On the anniversary, community leaders and current TSU students came together to honor the legacy and the impact it continues to have today. Photojournalist Marcelino Juarez shows us how the day was commemorated.
As we walk, as we stand for change, as we represent what has happened here at Texas Southern University.
It was about justice. It was about our community. It was about making our community better.
This is a reenactment of a march that took place on this day 66 years ago. Students from Texas Southern University gathered at this flagpole, said a prayer, and then marched to a lunch counter at the very site that would not serve them.
They were just sick and tired of being treated like second-class citizens. They wanted to do something to show that America could do better, that Houston could do better. And on that day, they stood up to a system that had denied them equality, equal rights, and opportunity.
He said, "It's a law." It was great. It was great.
There are so many, everything that we take for granted, not just the big things, but many of the small things. That was a battle. We had to fight for everything and more just to cover the ground that we've covered, even though we have much more to go.
Some very, very, very proud students at TSU, most of whom are not living physically today, made it possible. Had it not been for him, this monument had not been up here, this post office would not be here. And I just want to let you know, any people without knowledge of their past history, their culture, and their origin is like a tree without roots. So you get to know how we got here, y'all.
66 years ago. That is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. As U.S. and Israel military operations against Iran sent shockwaves across the entire Middle East, airports are shut down, leaving thousands of Americans stranded with nowhere to go. Our Juliana Jackson spoke with a couple from Harker Heights who are stuck in Dubai right now.
We made it! Jaquinta and Lamont Cannon from Harker Heights were ready to celebrate 3 years of marriage in a city they already loved. This wasn't the couple's first time visiting Dubai, but this time getting home is a different story.
Airports are still closed. We don't know when they're going to open. They're still trying to get people out from a week ago before us.
U.S. and Israeli military operations against Iran triggered strikes across the region, shutting down airports and stranding thousands of travelers with no way out. The State Department says it has assisted nearly 6,500 Americans so far, but for many, help has been frustratingly low.
We met people from India, people from Africa, and they're wanting to get back home. And the representative was trying to explain to them that certain areas just can't be flown into because of so much unrest over there.
But even in the middle of all of that anxiety, the couple has found hope to hold on to.
You see children running around, and so they're just full of laughter, so that just keeps you distracted from what us adults know.
The couple says they've canceled trips before when warnings were serious. This time they say there was nothing that told them not to go. Former State Department officials agree, saying there should have been far more advance notice to American travelers before operations began.
We've canceled trips before, due to warnings and stuff being put out. So if that was the case, we would have definitely canceled.
We do hope they get back home safely. The U.S. Embassy encourages Americans to depart the UAE if they can do so safely and recommend to shelter in place. The Cannons tell us their flight is rescheduled for March 11th. Meantime, the Delta Inn in Belmead is expected to reopen within 90 days. That's according to a spokesperson with the hotel. Back in February, one of the units caught fire, forcing at least 250 people to evacuate the property until further notice. City Manager Yost Zachary said in a press conference last month that that the fire caused extensive damage to the electrical room and the mechanical room. In order for the property to reopen, Yost said that the property owners must submit building plans, obtain the needed permits, and pass inspections before guests can return. That spokesperson with the hotel told us since that fire happened, their staff has been working with engineers and code enforcement to get the building back up to code and submit the needed paperwork to the city. But until those documents and inspections are approved by the city, Yost says the property must remain closed.
The quicker they can get everything back up to code, get it inspected, the quicker they can reopen. Our top priority in the city of Belmead always has and will continue to be the safety of every person who works, plays, or stays in Belmead.
Many tenants have found different housing nearby. A hotel spokesperson shared they have suffered financially. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Marshall Middle School in Beaumont, they went into lockdown Tuesday morning after Beaumont ISD said that its monitoring software flagged a potential threat. District police, they took a student into custody and say they're going to charge him with making a terroristic threat. The district uses software known as Gaggle to scan student online activity for signs of violence, self-harm, suicide, or bullying. Beaumont police, they are asking for your help catching the person who shot and killed Christiane Marks. Now, officers found her dead inside of an apartment at the Pine Club Apartments in Beaumont late Sunday night. Detectives believe that the shooting, it was not random but targeted. Residents, they are being asked to review surveillance video from 10:30 to 11:40 that night. Anyone with information should contact police or Crime Stoppers. And a tanker truck driver was cited yesterday morning after he failed to yield to a train. This happened in Nederland near the Sun Marine Terminal facility. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says the driver was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Officials say they don't know what that truck was carrying, but nothing appeared to be leaking. The crash temporarily closed several railroad crossings. And the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau, they've announced details for this year's Mural Festival. Creativity always takes center stage at this event every year. It celebrates local art, culture, and community. Artists from Southeast Texas and beyond, they're going to create murals and other works of art. And on top of all that, there's going to be activities, food, and family fun. And this year's Mural Fest, it's happening from March 21st and 22nd. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's all happening at the Riverfront Park in Beaumont. But there are also events planned across downtown. You can visit BeaumontCVB.com to check out a detailed map. Well, it was tough news out of Lamar University basketball on Tuesday. Alvin Brooks, he's not going to return as the head coach for the men's basketball team next season. Lamar Vice President and Director of Athletics announced earlier Tuesday that the Cardinals had gone 12-19 overall and 7-15 in Southland Conference play and did not qualify for the conference tournament this season. Brooks was the Lamar men's head basketball coach for the last 5 seasons, and he had signed a 3-year extension last season. And in the state semifinals for basketball, we've got an update on how teams from the 409 are performing. Starting with the girls, the Bridge City Lady Cardinals run for a state championship. It fell short Tuesday night. They fell to Fredericksburg 49-45 in the state semifinal. Congratulations to the Lady Cards on a phenomenal season. And turning to the boys, they're competing in the regional semifinal round of their tournament. In 5A Division I, the number 2 Westbrook Bruins, they disposed of Hendricks Hawks 67-41, and they're now going to battle Richmond Randall in the regional final. Over in 5A Division II, the number 8 Beaumont United Timberwolves, they put down the Weiss Wolves, getting the win for 53-41. They're now going to face the winner of Iowa Colony and Fort Bend Marshall in the regional final. Down in 4A Division I, the number 25 Bridge City Cardinals are going to face the Rattlers from Navasota. The Cardinals, they were unable to come back in the second half, and they lost 61-52. Their season comes to an end now. And in 3A Division I, the number 6 Orangefield Bobcats, they won against Mejia Black Cats 68-56. They're going to face Fairfield in the regional final at the end of the week. And the only ranked versus ranked matchup on Tuesday night, the number 3 Brooklyn Wildcats, they defeated number 14 Moulton Bobcats 79-58. The Wildcats are going to face the winner of Wells and Fayetteville in the regional final at the end of the week. Good luck to all of our area teams. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Henry Ramos, and this is the news in San Antonio. A massive effort in southern Atascosa County on Wednesday. A big rig rolled over and crashed into utility poles right in front of a power station. Officials say the grinding collision knocked out power to more than 1,000 customers. Here's Sue Kalberg.
When a big rig driver rolled into all of those electrical lines, he was trapped for more than 2.5 hours. The crash was called in just before 5 a.m. by a passerby. First responders arrived in the dark and found a crumpled rig and live wires at FM 791 and 2924.
EMS, Atascosa Sheriff's deputies, DPS troopers, and multiple fire departments were all dispatched out there because live lines were over the truck.
The effort to save the driver and restore service was intense.
There's a whole ton of lines that feed in and out of it. Those power lines go to 4 different counties: Live Oak, Karnes, Wilson, and Atascosa.
We reached out to the Houston-based company that owns the truck for a condition update, and we're still waiting for their reply. Full details of the incident are posted on the Ken's Electric Co-op website. In Atascosa County, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
A court ruling is putting construction at Camp Mystic on hold. The family of Seal Stewart, one of the 27 campers and counselors killed at Camp Mystic during the July 4th flooding, filed a lawsuit and asked for a temporary restraining order to stop construction at Camp Mystic and keep it closed until their lawsuit was complete. A judge says the camp needs to stop construction and changes to the Guadalupe campus, which is where the worst of the flooding happened. The Stewart family wanted to block Camp Mystic from reopening this summer, but the judge did not block that for the Cypress Lake campus. The Guadalupe campus, where the lives were lost, has been closed indefinitely. San Antonio law enforcement agencies are on high alert after the deadly mass shooting in Austin and then the conflict with Iran. With upcoming events in San Antonio like St. Patrick's Day and Fiesta, leaders say they are doing more to keep people safe. Earl Stoudemire explains.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office and SAPD are both increasing their presence in the community and online watching for threats. In specific, SAPD says the number of reported threats they see year after year is alarming. In 2023, SAPD received 86 reports of terroristic threats causing public fear. Then, in 2024, there were 98 reports, and last year, there were 129, including threats to public servants and general violence. SAPD arrested 17 people last year for making these threats. In response to recent events, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says they have areas of focus.
You'll notice increased patrols and patrol buys specifically focused on our affected residential communities and our houses of worship throughout the county. Our goal is simple: to provide a visible layer of protection and to ensure that every resident, regardless of where they live or how they worship, feels secure.
In a statement, SAPD says they've increased their patrols at churches, schools, and high-traffic areas like Six Flags and SeaWorld. Both groups say they'll continue to work with the state and federal agencies to keep everyone safe. And always, if you see something, say something. If you want extra officers in your area, you can call SAPD's non-emergency line or your local safe office. At the Public Safety Headquarters, Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
The San Antonio Zoo has been nominated in USA Today's Reader's Choice Award for Best Zoo. San Antonio Zoo is currently 7th in USA Today's 10 Best Reader's Choice Awards. It is now aiming for that #1 spot. Voting is open through March 9th. You can vote right now at kens5.com. And that is the news in San Antonio.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's making news in South Texas. The newly rebuilt Bob Hall Pier has only been open for about a week, and county officials say damage is already being reported. Videos on social media appear to show anglers drilling holes into the brand new deck to secure their fishing rods. Natalia Osuna has more from Padre Island.
This guy is out here making his own
pole for a rod drilling into the wood.
That video was captured on Padre Island's newly opened Bob Hall Pier, showing a man drilling a hole on the deck for his rod, and now there's multiple holes.
They're not easy to spot, that's for sure.
Many local fishermen have been eager for its opening after waiting 6 years to fish on it.
We're happy to be here.
Shoot, the minute I set back foot out here, said, you build it, we'll come.
Yeah. Raymond Almaguer says the pier represents more than a place.
Been fishing out here since I was 9, and this is home.
And more than 60 years later, he keeps coming back.
There's too many people that call it home. We don't go to your house and drill holes in your door.
Almaguer and his friends say they don't want one person's mistake to jeopardize the community.
Those are all my rods, those 5 rods over there. They're all leaning up against there. I know when something hits it.
Scott Cross with Nueces County Coastal Parks has spent years dedicated to the pier's renovation. He says he's okay with fishermen using items like PVC pipes that don't damage the pier.
I had never anticipated anybody drilling holes in our decking out here on this pier.
Cross says there are measures in place to prevent this from happening.
Worked with the sheriff's office, and I'm hiring off-duty sheriff deputies that I'm paying for out of my budget to patrol this pier.
Meanwhile, Commissioner Brent Chesney says the fisherman in the initial video is facing consequences.
It has been turned over to law enforcement, just like every other act of vandalism will be turned over to law enforcement. And now we're asking people out there to self-police and help us and take all video evidence, because we don't want this to ruin it for all the people, the 99.9% of the people that use it the right way.
Well, the Rockport Fulton Oyster Fest is making its return to the Coastal Bend, and preparations are underway. Organizers are getting the festival grounds ready for the thousands who are eager to get their hands on, well, some of the best oysters around, while also enjoying the carnival and the live music. And it's fun for a good cause. Proceeds from Oyster Fest help support the Fulton Volunteer Fire Department. And that's happening this weekend. The tennis community mourning the loss of one of their own. Local legend Susan Torrance was not only a Hall of Famer, she was also a mentor both on and off the court. Bill Churchwell shows us how former students, colleagues, and friends are honoring her legacy.
It's a voice that still echoes across every court here at the Al Cruz Tennis Center.
Hello, I want to know why you're not on the tennis court. Since you're not, leave me a message.
Former student Will Storbeck says that voicemail perfectly captures how Susan Torrance will be remembered.
At first, when you first call it, you think she's like, hello, why are you not on the tennis court? And you're like, oh, well, I just wanted to ask you something, or I wanted to find something out, but that was just who she was.
And she didn't just love the sport, she lived it. A state champion at King High School, making her mark at UT. And then it was on to the professional tour, reaching the top 100 in the world, playing at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, among others. But it was right here in Corpus Christi where she invested most of her later years, teaching a new generation like Storbeck.
Taught me since I was 8 years old, and ended up teaching me up until now, all my life. She's always been there to give me pointers, give me wisdom, and she's just was a great woman of faith.
Kinda Koenig, who once coached her, says her legacy goes far beyond trophies.
She was such a fun lady to be around, and a person who loved life and loved people, loved tennis. I wear the shirt just for her, because it is closely related to tennis success.
Christy Hardcastle first noticed Torrance as a young player, watching her coach on nearby courts.
But I yearned to be like, that looks really fun, and want to be over there, and that just warmed my heart.
Years later, Torrance encouraged Hardcastle to become a certified coach herself, mentoring her along the way.
The one thing I take from her is how positive she is. She can turn any negative into a positive and not yell, not scream at somebody. It's just amazing that you can have a coach that doesn't need to do that.
Torrance was open about her faith and used tennis as a way to encourage others, especially young players. The longtime advocate passed away last month after a battle with cancer.
She didn't want a normal funeral. She wanted a day where people could play tennis and be here at her tennis center.
For the countless lives she touched in Corpus Christi and far beyond, the message she leaves behind is simple.
I want to know why you're not on the tennis court.
Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
And her influence continues. That is a quick look at some of what's making news in South Texas.
Hi, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas.
In the latest election news, there were a couple of races during Tuesday's primary election that will be headed to a runoff. Among those is the race for the Democratic nomination for Texas's 1st congressional district, currently held by Republican Congressman Nathaniel Moran since 2023. CBS 19's Ayanna Aird joins us with more on how the candidates plan to prepare through May.
Texas Democratic Congressional District 1 candidates Yolanda Prince and Dax Alexander are among those advancing to a primary runoff election.
I am going to do everything I can to get elected to represent East Texans.
Yolanda Prince received 44% of the total vote during Tuesday's primary, while Dax Alexander received 21%. A candidate must receive at least 50% of the vote to win the nomination.
We knew we were probably going to be campaigning through May in a primary, and we were kind of expecting this and felt like we had worked hard enough to be in the runoff.
This seat has been held by Representative Nathaniel Moran since 2023.
I was born for this, and I am ready. I'm ready to fight for our family, our freedom, and our futures.
Yolanda says if elected, she is focused on health care and affordability for East Texans.
No one should have to decide between buying medicine and buying food for their families.
Alexander says his priorities include accountability and justice, affordable health care, and job opportunities for East Texans.
I grew up here. I was born in Tyler. I grew up down the road in Martins Mill on a dairy farm. Very, very typical East Texas rural upbringing. We have to make East Texas better. East Texas can be so great, but we're being held back by people that don't have that priority.
Everybody needs to come together. We need to band together, especially Democrats and working class Republicans need to band together to vote them all out.
For CBS 19, I'm Ayanna Aird.
Health officials in Smith County are urging pet owners to stay alert after several raccoons tested positive for distemper. Officers say the recent reports are concentrated in the southeast portion of the county, specifically along FM 346 near White House. While the virus is common in wildlife, it can spread to domestic pets through shared water bowls or shaded outdoor areas. Animal Control Supervisor Colton Parcell says while the virus isn't a threat to humans, it's very preventable for our four-legged friends.
The distemper vaccine before an exposure is almost 99% effective. So that's why it's so important to vaccinate animals before incidents. But it is possible to treat it as long as you treat it immediately. The sunlight does kill it within minutes, usually hours at the most. But the other thing is half of a cup. So if you've got outdoor patio furniture or something, half a cup of bleach in a gallon of water, so a 1:32 ratio, spray that on stuff, let it air dry, and you're good to go.
In nearby Mount Pleasant, the Mount Pleasant Animal Care and Adoption Center said it has also received about 7 calls about raccoons behaving strangely since February 10th. 2 tested positive for distemper, and officials are still waiting on results from a fox showing similar symptoms. New technology is about to start watching the roads in Panola County, and law enforcement says it could be a game changer in the fight against crime. The Panola County Sheriff's Office has started installing 19 flock safety cameras across the county, equipped with automatic license plate reading technology. That project is funded through a grant from the Texas Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. Sheriff Clinton Cutter says suspects have been known to drive in from other areas, breaking into vehicles and then leaving before they're caught. These cameras can instantly alert deputies to stolen vehicles, amber alerts, silver alerts, and plates linked to crimes. The sheriff stresses this is not about tracking law-abiding citizens, but about giving deputies another tool to catch suspects, recover stolen property, and much more.
We hope that we can save lives with this. We hope that we can return valuable property that people work their lives to acquire. And we hope that we can stop criminal enterprise. It's a huge priority that we create as many deterrents as possible and then also have as many investigative tools as possible to combat this.
Installation is already underway with full operation expected later this year. And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.